Karen Olson has the answer to this question. Can one small act of kindness become a promise that changes lives across the country? Today's guest, Karen Olson, is the founder and CEO emeritus of Family Promise, a national nonprofit that helps families with children prevent and overcome homelessness. Karen's journey began when she stopped to offer a sandwich to a woman experiencing homelessness. That one decision helped to spark a national movement that has engaged volunteers across the country and served more than 1 million family members. But Karen's journey did not end there. Years later, a horrific cryotherapy accident caused her to have a spinal cord injury that left her unable to walk and move independently. Yet Karen continues to serve, create, and share her remarkable journey through podcasts like this and her book, Meant for More, Following Your Heart and Finding Your Purpose, which you can find on Amazon and at KarenOlsonAuthor.com. This powerful conversation is about the promise created through kindness, the purpose found through serving others, and the strength to continue making an impact when life changes in truly unimaginable ways. Before we begin, I want to invite you to purchase my book, Today is the Day, Live It, From the Edge of Comfort to the Center of Impact. It's available online, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Amazon. And my platform, Connection is the Work, helps leaders and organizations turn intentional human connection into measurable organizational outcomes. It truly is changing the way organizations do business. To hire me and learn more as a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, leadership and connection strategist, or organizational consultant, visit todayisthedayliveit.com or email Jodi, Jodi, at todayisthedayliveit.com. Also, if you're thinking about making a career transition, I would love to have a conversation with you, as I know firsthand what that's like, and it is important to have someone in your corner as you are navigating that process. Now, here is my conversation with the extraordinary Karen Olson. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am your host, Jodi Hope Grinwald, and as I say every single episode, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am your host, Jodi Hope Grinwald, and as I say every single week, I interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. And I am honored and thrilled to have Karen Olson with me here today. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Jodi.
So great to meet you and see you. And I'm going to read a little of your bio, and then we're going to get into a conversation, okay? So Karen is the founder and CEO emeritus of Family Promise, dedicated her life to transforming the futures of homeless and low-income families. Her journey began in the mid-1980s when she first committed herself to the noble cause of advocacy for the disenfranchised and homeless. Garnering the power of human connection, my favorite word, and community, Karen has since rallied more than 1 million volunteers nationwide, fostering an extensive network of support for the vulnerable. Before her remarkable transition into the realm of social advocacy, Karen demonstrated her leadership prowess as manager at Warner-Lambert. We're going to get into so much of this, but before we do, Karen, I just want to tell you, my whole platform is Connection is the Work. And my dad always said he practiced the religion of kindness when people asked him what his religion was. So when we started talking, I felt very connected to all of your work. So I want to get started, though, before everything happens. Where did you grow up, Karen?
I grew up in Darien, Connecticut.
Wow. And when did you move from Darien, and where did you head to?
Darien to Cincinnati when I got married, because my husband had a job with Procter & Gamble. And then I moved to Summit, New Jersey when I took a job with the Warner-Lambert company.
When you were a child, were you a very outgoing or shy child?
No, I was actually very shy, but I was full of fun, and I liked to take risks. I was a bit of a tomboy. I enjoyed skating and swimming. We were right on Long Island Sound.
So you were a quieter child with a little bit of spirit and spunk. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to, well, I didn't, well, before my mother died, I wanted to be like Sonia Henney or Esther Williams. I love skating and swimming. Um, but after she died, I wanted to become a nurse because of the pain I suffered through her death. I knew what hurt was, and I didn't want anyone else to hurt.
But that didn't happen, did it? Because I know I read in your book, and I want everybody to see it. I'm going to hold it up for those listening via the YouTube channel. Meant for More: Following Your Heart and Finding Your Purpose by Karen Olson. I'm being honest, I'm in the midst of reading this incredible book, and I really push all of you who are listening to do the same. It's truly an incredible story. Karen has lived an incredible life. But that wasn't something that was in your future, was it? There was a little bit of hesitation from family regarding the nursing piece, it seemed.
Yes, well, after my mother's death, my father remarried, and my stepmother said to me, I was a nurse. You'll never be a nurse. You don't have what it takes to be a good nurse. So I had planned to go to St. Luke's school for nursing, but she persuaded my father not to send me to nursing school. And so instead, I studied business administration and took a different path.
If you could do it all again, would you have still taken that different path?
Yes, I would have liked to have gone into nursing, but it worked out very well, as you see as I tell my story, rather than having a few people or dozens of people through nursing. I've helped millions. So sometimes a roadblock comes in our path, and it actually works for the good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually think what you wrote to me in your book was never underestimate one effect of even the smallest act of kindness. And that is so true. Whatever our journey leads us, if you pay attention and you're present, incredible things can happen. So you wound up at Warner-Lambert. How did you go from Warner-Lambert to starting an organization like Family Promise?
Well, fate intervened one day. I was on my way to a meeting in New York City, and I was about to pass a homeless woman I had seen before. She sat on a crate with her belongings on either side of her. She was elderly, maybe in her late 70s, and she always looked down like there was no hope. And my heart went out to her, but I never stopped. But this one day, I decided to, and I ran across the street and I bought her a ham and cheese sandwich and an orange juice. And when I came back, she said, Thank you. God bless you. I haven't eaten anything since yesterday. And she took my hand, and I stayed there a bit and learned about her life. She had been married. Her husband was a chef. He died. And her two sons, one died on the West Coast. The other, she just lost communication. So she was all alone in the world. And I knew what depression felt like because I had been depressed. And so that's why I stopped and gave her the sandwich. And then from there, I told my two boys, who were then in 10 and 12, and they had the open hearts of children. And they said, Mom, let's go into New York and find more people like Millie. So we did, and we made dozens and dozens of sandwiches. And soon we learned that anybody sitting on a bench in Port Authority on a Sunday evening, that's when we would go, was not waiting for their bus. They were simply homeless. So the sandwich became a vehicle to say we cared.
That's heartwarming beyond compare. I mean, that's incredible. I want to go back to something you said. You said you knew what it was like to be depressed. And as I was reading the book, I did see that in there. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Because a lot of people hide their depression out of fear of judgment What were you dealing with, and how did you get through it?
I was just very depressed, and I was hospitalized at one point for depression, and I was afraid I was going to lose my children because of it. But I came through it, and how I came through it was the medication helped, but most of all, what helped is I began to believe in myself, and I meditated, and I began to be good to myself, and I came out of it. And when I was 30, I took the job at Warner-Lambert, and that made all the difference because now I was in the mainstream of things.
What did you do for Warner-Lambert?
I developed sweepstakes and couponing events for products like Listerine mouthwash and Schick razors. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my colleagues. I enjoyed the creative and competitive nature of the job, but I always felt I was meant for something more, still yearning for something more. And that's when I came across Millie.
So
And that was
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
then that was really a gift because she changed my path.
Incredible. So tell us, you met Millie, you were feeding people on Sundays at Port Authority, ham and cheese sandwiches. What came next?
Well, I even had some of my friends from Port Authority back to my house. I invited them back to my house for Thanksgiving dinner, and I would go in like 3 weeks before and give them bus tickets. And eight of my friends came back to my house. You know, they got off at the bus stop in Summit. I picked them up with some of my friends, and at that point, I thought maybe I'm really crazy to do this. But I had known them for a while, and I thought, why not, you know? And so they came into my house, and we had a lovely Thanksgiving dinner, you know, and I had a few volunteers from the neighborhood come and help. The thing about that is, I'm not a very good cook, and I've never, ever, ever, ever cooked a Thanksgiving dinner until then. Well, I actually, my neighbor cooked the turkey. So it was just, it was out of the ordinary. That's what I like sometimes. Sometimes being out of the ordinary puts you in a different place. And I cared for these mostly men. There were a couple of women. Um, and it was just beautiful to see them sit around the table and reminisce about Thanksgiving's past.
What did they teach you?
That we have more in common than not. When you relate to people from your heart, it doesn't matter what their status is. And the status is a funny word, anyhow. The people at Port Authority were really real, more real to me than many of my friends in Summit. Um, I had some very good friends in Summit, but others were just a social scene. But the people, my friends in Port Authority related to me with their heart, and I related with my heart back. So what it taught me was give of yourself, and you'll find that happiness might just catch up with you. So it was a beautiful
I'm
time.
and honestly, Karen, I'm listening to you and I'm tearing up, right? For those who can see me, I don't know why I am, but I can feel how special it is that you allowed your heart to be so open without judgment. And that's the thing I worry about in this society. There's so much judgment out there. What do you tell people? What advice can you give to people who spend so much time worried about status and judge others? They don't even realize they're doing it. They're not mean people. It's just the way society is. what awareness can you help them with?
Well, I just share how I felt when I began volunteering and stepping outside myself. And, I hope that they would find happiness when they reached out to someone. It doesn't take a lot, it might mean opening the door for someone or picking up the newspapers on your friend's porch because they're away. Uh, it can be little acts of kindness. You can leave a generous tip at at the place where you're having lunch. It just to just be aware and try to be sensitive to other people's needs, and you'll find a million ways you can help.
Absolutely. And it really is about being present instead of being caught up in cruise control, a way of life where we're just kind of going, and working and not feeling the impact of everything that comes in our path. In a world where trust drives decisions and relationships matter more than transactions, disconnection is something businesses simply cannot afford. I'm Jodi Hope Grinwald, a leadership and connection strategist, and my work is different because I don't offer just a single framework or surface level fix. I bring an entire ecosystem built on connection with me. I work across leadership, career transition teams, and client relationships, helping organizations rebuild trust where it may be strained and design their work so disconnection doesn't happen in the first place. Because when one link is off, it affects everything, and sustainable growth depends on keeping those connections strong. To learn more or inquire about me speaking at any of your events, reach out to me at Jodi, Jodi, at todayisthedayliveit.com. So tell me, Millie, ham sandwiches, people are at your house. Let's go to what you did to create such an incredible organization that's now pretty much nationwide.
Yeah, well, I was aware of people in New York who were homeless, and I helped them, but I was unaware of families because you don't see families. Families are hidden. They are doubled or tripled up with friends, or they're living in their cars, but you don't see them on their street. But when I began volunteering in Elizabeth, New Jersey, I met families who couldn't find shelter. Some found shelter, but then when they came out of shelter, they were alone. So I was meeting moms and dads with kids, and I thought, wow, does the religious community know that there are families who are homeless? So I thought the first step had to be awareness. So I planned a conference on family homelessness, and I invited the religious community, and I had a formerly homeless woman speak who was very articulate. She had a son who was 7, and she gave birth to a baby prematurely because she was staying at this Salvation Army shelter, and she had to walk every day until 6 o'clock when she could come into the shelter. And so she gave birth prematurely, and the baby died. And so we heard her story at the conference, and we thought, and she said, her name was Wendy, and she said, if somebody would have helped me, maybe I wouldn't have become homeless, because she was made to walk every day. And so when we heard her story, that mobilized a lot of people. And so from that conference, we met and we said, what are we going to do about finding shelter? And we couldn't find a building that was where we could provide shelter. And not any one religious congregation could provide shelter. So we improvised, and we created something we called the Interfaith Hospitality Network, where churches and synagogues could shelter at a weekly rotational basis. And so that meant Central Presbyterian church in my town could shelter families in their buildings for a week at a time on rotation with each other about once a quarter. So that became very doable. And the result of that was that there was a lot of camaraderie and healing through the interaction of volunteers and guests. You know, the volunteers, some of them helped them write resumes or do a housing search or a job search. Some even employed families in their own companies. So it was an outpouring of generosity. Why? Just because we provided the opportunity for people to make a difference, and they went above and beyond.
Wow. So was all new to you. You weren't doing this. This whole thing from going from Warner-Lambert to this. I really believe when your why is greater than the how, incredible things happen. Were you just on a mission and things just were falling in your lap? Did you do research? Well, because some people may be listening going, I wouldn't even know how to begin doing what Karen did.
Well, we just had a problem solve. You know, when we couldn't find a building, we came up with this idea of rotating, and families came in contact with many volunteers, and there's a healing factor through that. And some volunteers even brought their own children to volunteer, and guest children and volunteer children would play together. So walls were coming down, and other counties saw what we were doing, and Morris County and Essex County on either side of my county, which was Union, asked, how do you start a program like this? So I showed them how, and then others came to me and said, from Philadelphia and Columbus, Ohio, said, how do you do this? And so it spread like that. And then I raised enough money to hire a staff, and they could go out and present the program to clergy, and that's how we replicated the program. Today we served over 1 million men, women, and children, and we have affiliates in 43. We have today we have affiliates in 43 states.
Wow.
Yeah. And what that tells you is compassion is alive and well, And in every community, there was not only the need for shelter, but there was a need on the part of volunteers to make a difference, and they did. And so I always considered my mission, or what I was doing, twofold: helping homeless families and providing a way for people to make a difference in the lives of others.
So what made you call it Family Promise? Because you chose the name, right?
We changed the name to Family Promise because we realized our affiliates were doing so much more. They, after a while, they began to renovate housing. They created transitional housing. They were mentoring families. They were helping in so many different ways. So rather than call it just the Interfaith Hospitality Network, we changed it to Family Promise, meaning our promise to families.
So they're each individually run, right? Is that correct?
Yes, these affiliates were each individually run. They had their separate 501c3, which is a nonprofit designation. So we just gave them the tools to create the program, and they went above and beyond. Our affiliate in Salt Lake City, our affiliate in Phoenix, Arizona, has a pet program where they allow pets into the program, because when family becomes homeless, they oftentimes have to leave their pet behind because shelters won't take them in. But in Phoenix, they developed a program called PetSmart, and they allowed people to come in with their animals, and there was a kennel outside that kept the animals, and people could then go out and take their dog for a walk or whatever. So yeah, a lot of innovations came out of the core program.
That's just amazing. Do you, if people want to look that Family Promise up, do you know the website to share?
The website for Family Promise is www.familypromise.org.
Now, something happened, Karen, right? Because people will be able to listen and hear this, and you write in the book that you had something happen after you had everything up and running, and you were in Miami, right? And you were kind of by the pool, and you were having a great day until the day turned a little bit different. Can you share with everybody what happened?
Yeah. Well, after I retired, I wanted to spend time traveling, more time with my family, and more time in Miami, where I had a small condo. And that particular day, February 2nd, 2016, I was lying by the pool waiting for my time to have my cryotherapy. And when I went there, cryotherapy, by the way, is extremely cold temperatures, and you're in a chamber. So on February 2nd, 2016, I was relaxing by the pool, waiting for my cryotherapy appointment. And when I got there, the woman at the desk said, "You'll have a new attendant. She's been with us only 4 weeks, but she's been well trained." And I thought, well, that's okay because I've done this so many times. And so she put me in the chamber. You go in this very cold chamber. And I was particularly cold. And I said, she put me in the chamber. It was particularly cold. And I said, "I'm cold. I'm so cold." And she proceeded to let me out of the chamber when I said that. But I was frozen. And she went around and she opened the door to let me out, thinking I could walk out. But I was frozen. And so I fell forward like a popsicle and hit my head on a raised ledge, bleeding from my head, and it was screaming and running around. And I had the presence of mind to ask for a phone. So I called my two sons, Brad and Doug, who were living in New Jersey, and they came down right away, and they stayed with me. And I was in the hospital for about a month, but I had a spinal cord injury, and I was now in a wheelchair. I've gotten better over time. I can walk with a specialized walker and the help of my two aides, and I do regular exercises. But my life has changed. But Karen, the person, has not changed. I'm the same person. I'm just not walk. I'm just not able to walk on my own. But I'm, in a wheelchair, and I have the same friends, and I still volunteer. And, I wrote the book, Meant for More. I'm even painting with my left hand. Some of the art you see on the wall behind me are paintings that I painted when I was able to use my right arm. I can't use my right arm. I use my left arm, but I've been able to hold a paintbrush with a special gadget. So I've been painting, and I love to do that. And I'm basically happy. Um, I have friends, and my aides are all wonderful. They're like an extended family to me. And my assistant, Jen, is my helper, and she makes life so normal.
Mm.
So, yeah. And then I got a call from the the young woman who was tending the cryotherapy session, and she apologized. And she said she hasn't been able to sleep or eat. She was so depressed. And I said, well, it's not your fault. You were just not well trained, and it's not your fault. And I'm fine. I'm going about everything I need to do.
Wow. Just wow. It's, it's, there are so many people out there right now that could learn so much from you and will from what you're sharing. But what advice do you have for the person right now that may not have that inner spirit that you have? You have this incredible inner spirit, this resiliency, and this heart. What do you tell the person that might right now have gotten a bad diagnosis, lost a job, is dealing with something? Where do they go inside themselves? What is your advice?
Well, you look inside yourself first and you can meditate, and that's helpful. But I would say, look outside, see who you see who needs help, whether it's somebody who's homeless on the street or your neighbor who her mother-in-law is sick and she's trying to tend to her. Maybe you can help cook meals. It's just really going beyond yourself when you do that. You find that happiness might just catch up with you. So I would say go beyond yourself and look to see how you can make a difference where you are. You'll find it not only heals a person you're trying to help, but it heals yourself as well.
Gives your spirit a little bit of rejuvenation knowing you're helping to make a difference. And that is such a true thing. There is so much um when you give of kindness, and a kindness, what you get back is just fulfillment for so many of us. I'm in the same boat as you. Nonprofits my world too, and I love working with so many different nonprofits. I started a not-for-profit like you did, and I there's no greater joy than seeing the benefits of trying to just help people in any way possible. When it comes to Family Promise, is there anything that you think you would have done differently that now that you're looking back?
I don't think so because the core program involves so many people and so many volunteers to get involved, and that made all the difference. Now, having said that, Family Promise has grown, and they've added programs, as I mentioned. So it's not just the rotational program, but some have a stationary shelter, or they have daycare, or they have health care. They have so many things that they've created once they've met homeless families. It sparked an idea of what they wanted to do. Like a very busy pediatrician in Atlanta, Georgia, started a daycare program for kids so that they would have something to do during the day and while their mothers went to work. So there's many things you can do.
If you didn't stop and care about Millie, meet Millie, provide a ham sandwich, and all of that didn't happen, where do you think you'd be today?
Oh, gee. I would hope that would be reaching out in my own way, that I would find another avenue, and sooner or later I would realize I'm not satisfied just by working for Warner-Lambert, that I needed to do more, and I would find that avenue. I believe I would.
I believe you would too. And the interesting part is we don't realize how just one decision, and that's in my book too, how one decision, and I know it's in yours, can change the entire course of your life and be so fulfilling at the same time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I never felt like I worked a day in my life. It was just a joy helping people and building these affiliates, and I never looked down. I just kept going, and it was a joy. It still is a joy today. Yeah, very fulfilling.
Is there anything else, Karen, you want to share with the listeners?
Well, if you're going through a tough spot today, and I have been there, I was depressed and feeling hopeless. Just keep going. Um, keep busy. Reach out to your friends. I know there was when I was depressed, there was a woman who lived in the apartment next to me. She said to me, I have Bible study every Wednesday in my home. Would you like to come over? And just the fact that she asked me made such a difference. And so I went over to her house, every Wednesday for some time. And that was so fulfilling that somebody cared. I didn't really know her well, but she had seen how depressed I looked, and she invited me over to her house. And I always look forward to that. It was a big, big relief to know that people cared. So never underestimate, what you consider a small act of kindness. It can have a profound effect on the person you're giving something to.
That is so true. Just one thing that you do, holding a door open, smiling at someone, any of those things can change somebody's day. And then ultimately, you can help change somebody's life just by giving a little of your time and being consciously present. And that's something I really work hard on myself at times because we all get caught up in things. Anything else, Karen?
No, I just think the key is reaching out beyond yourself, and you'll find that your world is much bigger than you think, and you'll be removing the limits you have on yourself. And it's a good feeling, and it's contagious. I mean, there's some people that make shopping and status climbing their method of feeling happy, but it's so limited. How much can a new gold bangle bracelet really help you? The immediate thrill of buying it goes away fast. But if you're reaching out to someone to help them, you'll find that, your happiness catches up with you. So reach out beyond yourself.
100%. And that was so beautifully put, Karen. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast and the new and Changemaker family now. Again, everybody, Karen wrote this incredible book, Meant for More, Following Your Heart and Finding Your Purpose. Karen, thank you. And I want to have you on again, hopefully more updates. Is there another book in the realm or is one and done for you? You've got a lot in here.
Well, possibly. I'm gathering stories. I don't know where it will go. Yeah.
I have a good feeling. I have a good feeling because you tell a really phenomenal story. So thank you for sharing your heart in this book, on this podcast, creating family promise and helping people with your tremendously kind heart. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jodi. And thank you for having me on your show. I've enjoyed talking with your listeners.
Thank you. And I want to thank the over 137 countries and 1,400 cities globally that download this podcast. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And before we go, I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small or large steps are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Karen, thank you again. Karen Olson, everybody, please check out Family Promise. And if you can, give from your heart and support them in some way. Have a great day, everyone.